Hi everybody, in this video, this is the second video about permutations whenever order matters and we're trying to group objects. We finished up the last video. I kind of stopped suddenly, but I felt like it was a good stopping point. We stopped the last video talking about this bobsledding problem, right? If I had 10 teams and I wanted to know how many different ways they could order, so like what if the US was first and Russia was second and China was third and so on and so forth, how could I rearrange these so I get all the possible orders of those 10 teams? And we decided it was 10 factorial, okay? So what if I'm only interested in the top 3 places, right? Well, in that case, it would be 10 choices for first place for gold. And for silver, I would have 9 choices remaining out of those teams. And for bronze, I would have 8 choices remaining, okay? And so notice in this example that order matters, right? It would make a difference because if the United States finishes first, that's a heck of a lot different in a lot of people's eyes than if the U.S. finished second or third, right? But anyway, to get the problem here, to get the answer, I just take 10 times 9 times 8, and I get 7,200, I believe. 720, I mean. Okay? So I have 720 different ways that the top 3 teams can finish. So maybe it's U.S., Russia, China. Maybe it's Russia, United States, China. Those would be different orders, right? But maybe it's also like France, Germany, Canada, okay? And so I would have all these 10 teams that I'm choosing between. I only care about the top 3. So 720 choices, okay? We do have a way to do this on our calculator, okay? And what we're doing is called a permutation. The symbol that we're going to use for permutations is NPR, okay? N is the number of objects that I have. In this last example, it was the number of bobsledding teams. P means that it's a permutation, and that simply tells us that the order makes a big difference here, okay? We're going to talk about something called combinations tomorrow, and in combinations, order doesn't matter. It's just like we need groups of 3 or something. We don't care who's in the group or who's first in the group. R means how many are we taking at a time? How many of those objects are we taking at a time? So in the bobsledding example, we had 10 teams, and we're going to take 3 of those teams at a time because we're interested in the top 3 positions. So we would write this as NPR would be 10 teams, permutations, order matters, taken 3 at a time. How do we do this quickly and easily? So with that in mind, 10 NPR 3 is what I would say, 10 permutations taken 3 at a time. There is a formula for this. The formula for NPR is n factorial over n minus r factorial. Okay, so if I'm going to do 10 NPR3, like the bobsledding problem, I would get 10 factorial over 10 minus 3 factorial. Well, when I do that, I need to go ahead and simplify. The 10 minus 3 would be my first step. That would be 10 factorial over 7 factorial. And if I wanted to simplify that, we did this in class today actually, that would be 10 times 9 times 8 times, and then I'm going to write this out as 7 factorial times all the rest of them, right? 7 all the way down through 1. So that's just my easy way of not having to write the 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on the bottom, I have the 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? And so those cross out, and I'm left with 10 times 9 times 8, which is exactly what we did, just kind of doing it this way, right? How many gold choices, silver choices, and bronze choices. Now, what would be really nice is if we could do this on our calculator. And we can if we know how to type the information in. You might have noticed it when you were going to look for your exclamation point for the factorial problems, but if I go to the math menu and I scroll over to the probabilities menu, you can see it, it's right here, right? But what I have to do, though, is I have to type in the n before this and the r afterwards. So you can see it already wants me to put this value in. So I gotta delete this out. And what I have to do is do this: 10 things, math menu, NPR order matters, taken 3 at a time, and 10 NPR3 is 720. So go look in the math menu, know how to type it in. But 10 NPR3 on our calculator is the way that we would do this problem. Oh, I shouldn't put exclamation points because it means something, right? That's how we can do it on our calculator to make these problems easy. So hopefully that makes sense a little bit. We're going to work with some problems and get used to this when order matters. We need to know the group size, and we need to know how many of that group we're actually interested in. Okay, and that'll help us do some problems. Okay, I'm going to make one more video here in a second. We're going to talk about permutations, dealing with repetition, and I might even do an example problem. I think I'll start off with an example permutation problem that's a word problem that'll help us kind of solidify this concept.